What if I told you that one of the most renowned voices in gospel music, a guy who has motivated millions with songs of healing and hope, is currently going through one of the most difficult times in his life? The Prince of Gospel, John Pye, recently revealed the devastating news that he has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. However, his revelations go well beyond health. It is a testament to survival, faith, and startling facts that the general public never anticipated. And believe me, this story is not what it seems, so you'll want to hear every detail. The most unexpected aspect has yet to be revealed. The name John Pye is well known throughout the gospel community. His music has inspired congregations, transcended cultural boundaries, and provided solace to those in need of hope for decades. However, the guy who is well known for his stirring worship songs is now talking candidly about a very painful and intimate period of his life, his fight with prostate cancer. In this video, we'll examine John Pye's startling health news, reveal the little-known facts of his journey, and examine how the gospel community is already feeling the impact of this prognosis. We'll discuss his brave choice to speak up, the significance of raising awareness of prostate cancer, and the unsaid lessons he wants his supporters and admirers to learn. This is when things start to get interesting. There is more to John Pye's story than just sickness. It is the story of a guy who refused to let cancer define him, and about perseverance and faith in the face of adversity. You'll learn why this event has the power to alter not only his life, but also how followers of gospel music perceive faith, vulnerability, and health. Keep listening until the very end because his most moving testimony contains a passage that many people haven't heard yet and will give you chills. We must first comprehend John Pye's identity and the reasons behind the profound effect of this news before delving into the specifics of his cancer diagnosis. He is more than just a singer in the eyes of many. He is a gospel music pioneer, a performer with a 4-decade career, and a guy who turned his suffering and hardships into songs that still motivate people today. His tale is one of success emerging from adversity. He was born John Prince Key in Durham, North Carolina. His path wasn't simple like that of many great artists. He had obstacles as a child that could have easily ruined his future. Violence, the allure of the streets, and the very real temptations that come with living in a harsh environment were all around him. But music was his escape even at those moments. It didn't take long for other people to realize how talented he was. Key's musical abilities were already apparent by the time he was a teenager. Ning heads. He honed the innate gift that God had given him by attending the North Carolina School of the Arts and studying music formally. He eventually discovered that gospel was his true vocation, a choice that would alter not only his life, but also the tone of contemporary worship. John Pye established himself as the Prince of Gospel during the 1980s and 1990s by developing a distinctive sound that combined contemporary elements with traditional church sounds. Worship sessions became intense, emotionally moving events, because to songs like Standing in the Need and Show Up, which quickly became standards. Key gained recognition as a force that could connect with people of all ages through his music, with his choir, the New Life Community Choir. His voice and music alone, however, weren't what made him so sympathetic. It was his openness. He was never afraid to talk about his difficulties. He talked candidly about his past transgressions, struggles with sin, and path to salvation. Because his vulnerability, he was a personal testimony in addition to being a gospel performer. The music of Key's offered more than just amusement to innumerable fans. It served as a lifeline, a ministry, and a reminder that hope endures even in the most dire circumstances. Now, this is the reason his recent disclosure is so powerful. John Pye has been urging people to persevere, have faith in miracles, and trust God for decades. And now, more than ever, he is the one who needs faith, prayer, and support. Anyone who has ever been moved by his music is shaken by this moment, not just the gospel community. This is where the plot changes, though. John Pye made an unexpected decision. Even though many admirers thought he would keep his health issues hidden, he made the decision to disclose his prostate cancer diagnosis to the public. and there are strong and intensely emotional reasons for that choice. Many fans didn't want to believe it when John Pay's prostate cancer was initially revealed. How could a man who had made it his life's work to bring happiness, healing, and support now be dealing with such a serious health issue? It felt nearly unreal. However, Key personally attested to it in his own words rather than through hearsay or rumors. That openness was amazing and devastating. Key says the diagnosis wasn't made overnight. Routine medical testing was the cause, something that far too many men ignore until it's too late. Physicians had been keeping an eye on several warning indicators, and the reality became evident after additional analysis. Prostate cancer. Those words are frightening to many, frequently stigmatized by uncertainty, anxiety, and even silence. However, Key bravely chose to come out in the open and talk about his difficulties rather than keep it a secret. He revealed that this fight will put his faith to the test in addition to his physical capabilities. And those statements carried a tremendous amount of weight coming from a man who has stood on stages all around the world announcing healing and hope. Social media was instantly inundated with words of support, encouragement, and prayer from fans. However, Key wanted to make it very clear that there was a deeper message hidden within the public's response. You see, Key wasn't merely disclosing his ailment to attract attention or sympathy. He wants to use his position to raise awareness of a bigger issue. One of the biggest health issues facing men is prostate cancer, which is particularly prevalent in African American communities where diagnosis and death rates are much higher. Keith's decision to be open wasn't solely motivated by his personal conflict. The goal was to raise awareness and encourage other guys to be checked out, take their health seriously, and not put off getting tested until it was too late. At this point, Key's story assumes a far more significance. By speaking up, he turned his personal struggle into a message that could save lives and turn what might have been a private tragedy into a public witness. And for that reason, his diagnosis is so much more than just a news story. It's an exhortation to act. This is where it really took many by surprise. Many people thought Key would pull back from his ministry, music, and public life, but he showed something very different. He pledged to continue working, singing, and ministering as long as God granted him the strength to do so in spite of the prognosis. This was not the end for Key. In his tale of tenacity, it was simply another episode, and that's when the story becomes even more interesting, because John P. Key's fight with cancer involves more than simply medication and therapies, as we'll discover in the following section. It's about faith and reality colliding, and his chosen approach to this battle may be his most impactful testimony to yet. One thing is evident to anyone who has followed John P. Key's journey throughout the years. Faith has always been central to his existence. Key has continuously led people to God through his ministry activities in his neighborhood, his music, and his sermons. Therefore, many questioned how his faith would hold up in the face of a diagnosis as drastic as prostate cancer. The response was prompt. He refused to allow the illness to take away his voice, his purpose, or his hope. He saw the diagnosis as both an opportunity and a challenge. In his own words, it was a challenge because it had him confront his own mortality and the uncertainty that accompanies cancer in whatever form, but it was also an opportunity because it provided him with a stage on which to live out the very principles he had spent decades preaching and singing about. God seemed to be saying, "Now is the time to show the world what it really means to trust me." He continued to minister even as he started looking into medical treatments, talking to doctors, and assessing possibilities including radiation, surgery, and long-term monitoring. His recent performances and remarks appear even more passionate than previously, according to some supporters. He feels as though this conflict has ignited a fire within him, inspiring him to give his all to his vocation. And this is what's remarkable. He hasn't held back from discussing the challenging aspects of his path. He has recognized the anxiety, insomnia, and emotional burden associated with receiving a cancer diagnosis in postings and interviews, because it demonstrates that even gospel titans are human, This weakness has helped him gain more followers. He has dispelled the myth that having faith entails never experiencing fear by being open about his difficulties. Rather, he is demonstrating that faith is about overcoming fear. Important discussions within the gospel community have also been triggered by this honesty. Health issues, particularly those pertaining to men's health, are much too frequently kept silent. There is a stigma associated with prostate cancer in particular. Many men are reluctant to discuss it, to be tested, and to face the prospect that something might be amiss. Pastors, artists, and regular believers have been inspired to share their personal health stories as a result of Keys' transparency. There's more to this, though. Keys' decision to carry on preaching, singing, and working despite having cancer has delivered a powerful message. When you encounter difficulties, your mission does not cease. The diagnosis wasn't a warning to back off for him. That served as a reminder that each day is a blessing. Additionally, every song offers a chance to motivate. His delivery is frequently described as having a sense of urgency by fans who attend his concerts or watch him online. As though he's putting his entire being into each lyric, it seems unadulterated, strong, and intensely intimate. He is in many respects. The phrase, "God is able," or "He'll make a way," after all, has a weight that no studio recording can match when you're battling for your life. However, Keys' battle is about more than just himself. Additionally, he is using his position to promote prevention and awareness. In one message, he called on males to take their health seriously, get checked, and be aware of their numbers, particularly in the African American community. This new message is equally compelling for a guy who once transformed his testimony of salvation and street life into a ministry that saved countless souls. Even while all of this is heartwarming, most fans haven't seen this aspect of the narrative yet. He has experienced severe agony and uncertainty behind his outward displays of bravery and trust. He has had to face the fact that the fight against cancer is unpredictable, regardless of how strong one's faith is. John Pye has stayed unwavering in public, frequently grinning, offering encouragement, and expressing his belief in God's capacity for healing. However, they rarely glimpse the hidden lives that lie behind every popular celebrity. Additionally, Keith has experienced times of vulnerability, uncertainty, and despair as a result of coping with a prostate cancer diagnosis. He has said that the first shock of hearing the word cancer was nearly debilitating in talks with close friends and family. The notion that his own body was now being attacked seems unreal to a man who had dedicated decades to improving others. He experienced waves of emotions, including disbelief, rage, fear, and acceptance, just like many patients. He once admitted to questioning God during those initial days. Here's the truth though, not in a way that disregarded faith, but rather like a child calling out to a father, "Why me? Why now?" Cancer has a way of making even the strongest people humble, regardless of how strong their faith is. He has acknowledged that there were times when he struggled to fall asleep, when he cried uncontrollably, and when he considered leaving his ministry, his family, and his music behind. Because they reveal a guy who is choosing to overcome fear even when it is very real, these private struggles add even more significance to his public bravery. An important part of this trip has been his family. Key has frequently talked about the love and support he has received from his kids, grandkids, and extended family. This is a personal war for them. It's about a mentor, a father, and a grandpa whose presence in their lives is invaluable, not simply a gospel figure. His loved ones have been at his side for doctor's appointments, treatment talks, and prayer sessions, according to family sources, ensuring he never feels alone in the struggle. When he revealed that his family united together in prayer after finding out the specifics of his condition, it was a particularly moving moment. He experienced a sea change during that prayer circle that was full of tears and confessions of faith. It served as a reminder to him that although cancer may assault the body, it cannot annihilate the spirit of love, hope, and solidarity that unites families. However, his difficulty is further compounded by the burden of being a public person. He has acknowledged that, despite his desire to be resilient for his followers and congregation, there are days when the strain becomes too much to bear. It can be draining to be expected to motivate people all the time, especially when he needs motivation himself. Nevertheless, he decides to be open since he thinks that being honest is more effective than seeming unstoppable. Additionally, this openness has had unanticipated repercussions. He has received stories from fans who have fought cancer themselves or who have loved ones who are battling it. Many claim that his bravery has inspired them to face their own obstacles, demonstrating that Key is still able to minister effectively despite his weakness. But let's face it, living with cancer is a long journey. Therapy can be exhausting. A person can become exhausted by side effects, and just as real as the physical toll is the mental one. The sermons, the music, and according to the remarks on social media, Key is battling a very personal struggle, and the fight is far from ended. This is where his story becomes even more remarkable though. Rather than avoiding the limelight, he has decided to take the stage with even more audacity. He thinks that one of the most significant lessons he can impart during this season is his testimony. The way that this diagnosis has revitalized John Peaky's music and ministry is among the most amazing aspects of his experience. Keith's songs have been associated with faith, tenacity, and encouragement for many years. But now that he's singing about more than hope, those same ideas have a completely different meaning. He experiencing it firsthand. It's more than simply a show when his admirers hear him sing about God's healing power or the promise of deliverance from someone who is genuinely fighting for his life. It is a statement of faith. You can't fake that type of authenticity. It can only be attained by choosing to raise your hands in worship while traversing the valley of uncertainty. Those closest to Key claim that while he has continued to lead his New Life Community Choir with the same fervor as before, something has changed. Even while his voice is still strong, it has a more profound emotional resonance. He seems to be putting all of his suffering and faith into the music, as each note feels heavier. During his recent concerts, audience members have reported feeling cold, describing how each song seems to draw them into Key's private prayer closet. Keith's ministry involvement has expanded beyond the stage as well. He has been actively involved in outreach, providing food for the hungry, helping young people, and mentoring those in need for many years. However, his fight with cancer has made his message even more urgent. In addition to discussing salvation and redemption, he is making use of his platform to emphasize the value of wellness, health, and caring for the body that God has given us. He has made it clear that religion and medicine are not mutually exclusive. He has urged men to see routine examinations and screenings as stewardship of their life, particularly in the African American community. This message has broken the taboo around prostate cancer by starting discussions in communities and churches across the country. His diagnosis is thus evolving beyond a personal battle. It's evolving into a faith-driven, nationwide awareness campaign. However, there is more to the story. Seeing Key persevere in the face of his diagnosis has been both humbling and inspirational for his devoted followers. Many claim that they now relate to his music on a deeper level than they did previously. Once uplifting lyrics have turned into hymns of survival. When performed by someone who is facing death head-on, songs like Jesus is Real or He'll Welcome Me have depths of significance that really speak to them. The most beautiful thing about it all is that Key doesn't hide that vulnerability. He lets his audience feel the weight of his struggle, see the cracks, and see the tears. He has reinterpreted what it means to be a gospel performer in the process. Presenting a flawless picture of strength is not the goal. Rather, it is to show that genuine strength can be discovered in weakness that has been given over to God. There is no denying the repercussions. Support has been expressed by other musicians. Prayer sessions have been held in churches in his honor, and whole communities are coming together to support the cause of prostate cancer awareness as well as crucial. Music is no longer as important as his tale. Today, it's a movement of openness, healing, and faith. This is where it becomes even more potent, though. He has alluded to the fact that the current phase of his life has served as inspiration for his new writing. These new songs have the potential to be among the most influential of his career, based on his prior work. Imagine a record where each song is the result of many sleepless nights, many days of therapy, and a steadfast belief in God's capacity to heal. Gospel music may be impacted for years to come by that level of genuineness. Even his music and ministry are changing. The personal toll of this journey is still being felt. John Peake is still a man navigating doctor's appointments, health scares, and emotional fights behind the motivational speeches and stirring performances. His narrative is so accessible, genuine, and poignant because of this dual reality faith on one side and fragility on the other. John Pye might not have really understood the extent of the consequences when he disclosed his prostate cancer diagnosis. What started out as a personal health struggle for one guy swiftly expanded into something far bigger, a shared awakening both inside and outside the gospel community. The fans were the first to respond. Social media was inundated with personal testimonies, prayers, and words of love. Thousands of people started talking about their personal cancer experiences or those of loved ones who had fought the disease. Keith's candor allowed many people to finally discuss topics they had previously avoided, like pain, anxiety, and the vulnerability that accompanies disease. Supporters claimed that if someone as powerful and well-known as John P.E. could be honest about his difficulties, then so could they. Transparency of such sort sparked a wave of bravery. Church leaders and other gospel musicians then responded. In public remarks, well-known gospel musicians commended Keith's courage and urged their fans to get checked. Whole churches hosted Health Awareness Sundays, during which pastors distributed materials for physical examinations, in addition to giving sermons about spiritual well-being. Key's speech marked the beginning of a movement that swiftly spread across pulpits, choirs, and congregations across the nation. Even beyond the gospel community, Key's story garnered interest. Prostate cancer awareness groups and health organizations started showcasing his testimony, acknowledging the impact of a well-liked and respected individual using his position to raise awareness of the problem. Given that Key's voice matters in societies where discussions concerning men's health are sometimes shunned, several organizations have even asked him to work with them on awareness initiatives. On a more intimate level, however, the ripple effect may be the most potent. After learning of Keys's diagnosis, there have been reports of men making appointments for their first prostate exams. Mothers, daughters, and wives have all expressed their desire to encourage their male family members to be screened. The real impact is found here, not only in news articles or social media updates, but also in the actual lives that could be spared as a result of Key's decision to speak up. Even if all of this is encouraging, reality still exists. Key is still fighting. Every day offers fresh obstacles, feelings, and advancements. The path is still very personal, but the love and support from the community is encouraging. According to Key, knowing that his fight has a purpose is what keeps him going the most, that others are discovering awareness, strength, and healing as a result of his suffering, and it is there that his legacy becomes even more enduring. Gospel superstar John Peake has been revered for years for his soul-stirring and room-shaking voice. He is now also gaining recognition as a warrior, a man who lives out God's goodness in the midst of life's most trying times. In addition to using his platform to sing about it, let's remember the bigger picture as we come to an end. It is true that prostate cancer exists. Numerous men and their families are impacted by this significant issue. However, anecdotes like John P. Key's serve as a reminder that community support, understanding, and religion may have an impact. His bravery in speaking up extends beyond his personal experience. It aims to save lives, start discussions, and serve as a reminder that everyone's health is a gift that should not be taken for granted. This is my challenge to you then. Don't stop with watching this video if John P.'s testimony has moved you today. Do something. Talk to a loved one about this story. Men in your life should be encouraged to get checked. Above all, remember to pray for John Peake and his family as he fights on. Because although disease may put the body to the test, a spirit based on faith is impervious to it. And if we have learned anything from John Peake's life, it is that God's light can shine through the darkest valley.